Alright, so now we're back in Pluraleyes, and all of our footage is ready to be synced. We have the little thing down here that says media ready. I'll usually double check, make sure my buttons are checked off, correct audio is unchecked, level audio is unchecked, and then try really hard is checked. So now the media is ready. All I'll do is hit synchronize, and you'll see it's kind of start to work and do its magic. And depending on how much footage is loaded in at the time is kind of how long it will take, but usually it's just a few seconds. It'll tell you how many clips did not sync, and usually, like in this portion, I kind of loaded in an extra clip of the audio that was that I assumed wouldn't sync, so it's not really a surprise that that one didn't sync, so it's not a big deal. So now that it's synced, you can choose to save your file just in case you want a backup of it. Usually you can just hit export timeline, and what that's going to do is take the footage out of Pluraleyes and back into Premiere. Before I do that, I'll usually come over here and select my project panel over here where there's nothing at, rather than inside a folder, for the main purpose of, like, if I have this folder selected, when I hit export timeline, it'll put that export inside this folder and kind of make your project panel a little bit more disorganized. So I'll select over here in the off area, so everything will be contained in its own folder and not end up inside of another folder. So export timeline, it'll ask me, I unchecked this option since I want all the audio intact. With that option checked, it'll delete all the camera audio and just leave you the audio recorder. I'd like to have the camera audio still attached to it, so I uncheck that. Export, and what it basically does, an XML file that it saves to your hard drive and then re-imports it back into Premiere Pro for you. So if it ever doesn't import, usually that XML file will be located in your project panel where you saved your Premiere Pro project. So if I go look in my folder here, I think it's in here, and then I can guess it's probably, see, these XML files are actually the Pluraleyes exports, and then the import into Premiere. So I go check what it just brought into Premiere, and it duplicates the footage also, which is kind of a pain, but it's not really a huge deal. So I'll go find the sequence and dig around the folders, and it also duplicates the folder structure of the footage and sequence that you originally fed it. You'll kind of see it once you go through it, and then I'll double click on the sequence to open it, and then you can begin checking the synchronization of everything and just making sure everything lines up. A nice keyboard shortcut is up and down, and what that does is these blue boxes over here are like the timeline, I don't know, selector track, I guess you would call it, and by hitting the letter or the arrow keys down for whatever track is selected, it will stop on the footage on that track. So right now I have footage on tracks 1, 2, and 3. So when I hit down, it'll stop. The timeline indicator here, the blue bar, will stop on each piece of footage on those tracks. And vice versa when I hit up. If I were to unselect these boxes and just say leave, and it applies to audio as well, say if I just left track 1 select, it will only stop on the footage gaps on track 1. And basically right now, I'll make this large by hitting the tilde key and go in here, and you can drag your tracks open so you can view the audio waveforms a little bit better. Also, I think I hit control, when you're over here you can hit the mouse scroll wheel, and that will enlarge the track so you can better see your audio waveforms. and then using the plus and minus keys, you can zoom in real close to your waveforms here, just kind of making sure everything lines up good. And usually does a pretty good job. Hit down to kind of go through, and then I use the plus and minus keys to zoom in and out. And just kind of double checking and making sure everything's lining up where I want it to.